Hello everybody, so today's video I'm going to be reading the Caraval by Stephanie Garber series. This is a trilogy and I thought I'd make a video of me reading it so I can tell you all my thoughts. There may be some spoilers, so if you've not read it and you don't want to see spoilers, I will put a warning on the screen when there's going to be spoilers. But I'm so excited to start this book. The reason why I chose the Caraval trilogy is because I've heard so many things about the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy by Stephanie Garber, but everyone says to read the Caraval one first, so that is what I'm doing, and I'm starting with the first one, obviously. The first thing I noticed about this book is it's got a map, and any fantasy books with maps I love. I just love being able to kind of like envision it and know where they are, and yeah, it's great. The first chapter is literally one line, which I love. They're so powerful, I feel. And then it's kind of got like letters. But I'm just about to start chapter 2. I literally started last night before I went to bed. So about to start chapter 2. But yeah, I will keep you updated. Hello everyone. I have just sat down to read some more of Caraval. What chapter am I on? I'm only on the 7th chapter at the moment, so I'm not too far in. I've had a busy couple of days, so I've not really been able to read too much, but I'm about to sit down for a bit and read. But I'm enjoying it so far. I feel there's not much to report on just because I'm kind of still getting into the story. Like if you have read the book at the moment, Scarlett and Julian have just crossed over and gotten onto the beach. I think they're now going for a forest. So I'm not very far in at the moment. They've not even reached Caraval yet. So I have now reached the second section of the book, the one where it's the night of Caraval Eve. So I feel like I'm starting to actually get into the story now. But in a couple of pages beforehand, he called her love, and I was like, oh my god! And then I realised that it was just because he was pretending, which makes me sad. And I've seen lots of people emphasise the fact that it says you must remember it's all a game. So I'm guessing that's like an important part of it, that it's you get stuck in the game. Dreams that come true can be beautiful, but they can also turn into nightmares when people won't wake up. So I think it's going to be a really interesting concept of the fact, remembering that it is just a game. So I'm interested to see where that goes. It is currently about 6:20 in the morning. I've got an open day today for Brighton University. But it's a good few hour car ride. We were going to get the train, but it's like 5 trains or something, so we're not doing that. We're driving. I say we, Mum's driving. I'm not driving. And Mum's just popped into Tesco's, as you can see, to get us some pastries for breakfast. So I'm making the most of it and doing a bit of reading. But it is also 6:30 in the morning, so I'm tired. So I wouldn't be reading loads, but yes. This book, I am really, really enjoying it so far, but I'm finding it so hard to keep on remembering that, like, the concept of it's all just a game. Because obviously kind of the main part of this book is that everything that happens is part of the game. But in my brain, I'm like, is every interaction fake? Is this fake? Like, and I feel like obviously like kind of maybe at the end you'll find out like what was real and what was fake. But like, I feel like I'm quite a naive person, so I like to take things like to heart, And if someone does something nice, I'm like, oh, that's nice. But I don't know if that's real. So now I'm second guessing everyone. But I think that makes it really, really interesting because you're constantly like on your toes and looking back. But yeah, I need to remember that none of this is real. I am now getting my shoes on to go head to Waterstones. I'm aware that I shouldn't be buying this many books. I've been buying so many books lately, but I think the reason is, 1, because I love buying new books, and 2, because I need to get out of the house for things other than work, right? Because I feel like the only times I really leave the house is to go to work. And then obviously because, chronically ill girly, working drains me and I'm so tired from work that I then don't really have the energy to do anything else. So I'm like, if I just go to the bookshop, buy a book and come back home, that's kind of still going out and doing something, but it means I can still come home and then chill out afterwards, you know? So that's kind of my thought process. But I actually got a new black box fitted in my car yesterday, so I'm gonna have to remember, you know, that I've got a black box now. So anyways. I'm now home. I'm just about to get my pyjama bottoms back on and then go grab something to eat because I'm hungry. But I thought I'd quickly just show you the books. I know you know what they are, but anyways. So I got Legendary and Finale, obviously, because they are the last two. The one thing that does annoy me though is, I don't know, I just wish these two were a little bit different coloured. Maybe if it was like yellow or an orange, because the front covers are cool. They're all different. Oh no, it's annoying. This one's matte. This front cover is matte and these two have got shiny bits. That is annoying. But yeah, the front covers are all different colours, but then the sides just annoy me a little bit. Although I suppose it is kind of cute. I don't know. I am right near the end of Caraval. I'm on page 359, so I've only got a little bit left. And honestly, I think I am as naive as Scarlett, because I know that none of this is real. I know it's all a game, but I don't understand how. I'm sure I'm about to find out, but I don't understand how, right? I'm just confused, okay? Because I don't. Like I said, I'm sure I'm going to find out in a minute how it was all a game and why it was all a game. But I just don't get it right now. I'm just a little bit like, why? You know? Book 1 is complete. I have just finished it. I understand it a little bit more now as to why what was happening, because I'd seen some spoilers on TikTok. So spoiler alert, skip like 30 seconds if you don't want to find out. But I knew that like Tella and Dante and Julian, I knew they weren't all actually dead because I'd seen it on TikTok because I spoil things for myself. But I was like, why, how, who, what, when, where, you know? So now I understand it a little bit more, obviously. But I'm pretty sure the next book is kind of like Tella's book, I think, because this is kind of like Julian and Scarlett's book. Whereas I feel like the next one is more kind of Tella's book, so I'm interested to see what happens. But I'm going to grab the next book from upstairs and get straight started on that one. Okay, I'm now about to start book 2, Legendary. I love the cover of this one. I think it's quite cool. I just love like the stars. First book says, remember, it's only a game. And this one says, the game has just begun. So let's get started. So I am now over halfway through Legendary. I am on page 279. So I am over halfway. And I won't lie, the first half of the book I did find quite boring. It did kind of take quite a lot of effort to kind of get through it. But when we reached the halfway mark, it started getting a lot more kind of better in my eyes. Oh, I have heard that about this book. On TikTok, some people said the first bit is quite hard to get through, so I know I'm not alone in that, but I am now starting to get into it a bit more. Yes, I think these books have taken me longer to get through than other fantasy books, but I think, honestly, I think it's Powerless's fault, because I recently read Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and since then I haven't been able to find a book that hits the same, just because of how much I love that book, which I find happens quite often. When you read a book that you really enjoy, after that it's quite hard to find a book that hits the same. But I am getting more into this one now. I am now on the epilogue of the book. So I've almost finished Legendary, and it's just about to finish it. And then I'm going to head to bed for the evening and start the final book tomorrow. Towards the end, this book really, really picked up and I wanted to carry on reading it. So I think definitely the second half of this book got so much better. So I honestly don't know what I would rate this book, because The first half I wouldn't rate it very high, but the second half I really enjoyed. It is now the next day and I have just started reading the finale book, and I really like the way this one's set out because each chapter kind of tells you whose perspective it's in, and I think that's kind of cool. It's different than the other books because the first book was from Scarlett and then the second book was Donatella, whereas this one's kind of the mix of the both of them. I am loving that we're getting more of Scarlett and Julian in this book. I missed them in the last one. I would cling to any little bit of detail we got from Tella's point of view in the last book, but I'm loving that we now have more from Scarlett and Julian, and obviously there's the whole Nicholas thing going on as well at the moment, which is interesting. I'm already enjoying this book so much more just from the beginning of it. I'm up to page 61 and I won't spoil it, but I will call it the marriage game has just started. And this is wild. This is not what I thought was going to happen. It's giving love triangle, which I'm not normally a fan of love triangles, but this seems more fun than like actual love triangle-y. So I'm not too mad to begin with, but we will see. This is 100% my favourite book out of all three. I am loving this one. I've just gone up to page 205 and it is the bit about how Scarlett can see colours. If you've read it, you'll know what I mean. And it's so interesting and cool. And yeah, this is definitely my favourite book. I've been hooked the whole way through. I love reading like the big love scenes. They have me giggling and it's so cute. We've been waiting a long time for this, the third book. I mean, stepdad's lawnmowing. I just have to speak over the lawnmower. Obviously, like I knew they were always together, or on and off together, but like this is kind of like the big love declaration. I love it. It's so cute. So I am finally almost finished this book. I think I've got about 20-ish pages left, and I've read the quote, which really quite made me sad. It said, and this hopefully won't spoil anything. And Scarlett cried. She cried for the horrors he had been, and she cried for the wonders that he could have been instead. But I've got so many tabs in this book, so you can't really see, but the orange ones are for like kind of moments between either like Scarlett and Julian or Tella and Legend or whatever. Like it's all kind of moments between like romantic-y moments between characters, and then we've got the yellow ones which are kind of quotes or bits that made me sad or just other stuff really. This is a really bad angle, but I can't be bothered to change it. I've just finished reading the final book of the Caraval series. It is now all done, and can I just say, I love the way that I tab these books. I did them all different colours. I'm up. I always film these when I've just run up the stairs. So the first book I did blue, like 2 different kind of shades of blue. Second book I did purple and pink. And then the third book I did orange and yellow. Cute and patootum. So I'll talk overall and then I'll go like individually. So overall I loved the magical system of the books and kind of the setup of the book, well, the series, because I feel like I've not read, obviously I've read lots of fantasy books, but I've never really read fantasy books with this sort of game element, and it was just very, very unique the way that it was all set out and how you have to think about the book. I think especially the first book, if I reread it again, I think I'd feel like I'd not understand, but I'd feel differently about it. Not in the way like I'd like it more or less, but like I'd understand things more, because I was constantly second guessing myself and being like, wait, is this real? Is this not real? So I feel like if I read it again, I'd laugh at my old self and be like, oh my god, that was so obvious. And I definitely think it's a good idea to read these books before you read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, because Jax comes in this book, and Jax is the main male character in this series. So I think it kind of helps you kind of feel and understand his character a little bit more, and perhaps why he is the way he is, because you get to know him in these books. So I think overall I would actually rate this series a 4 stars, which might come as a surprise for my ratings individually of the books, but I'll explain in the end. So the first book, I'm pretty sure, I think I rated it a 3.75 stars. I actually can't remember. It's very annoying because on Goodreads you can only rate things like full stars, as in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but on what's the other one that I've got called? Storygraph, that's the one. On Storygraph you can rate it like 0.5 0.25, 0.5 and 0.75. So I'm pretty sure for the first book I did 3.75 stars. Just because it was the beginning book, so it really set the world, but it did it in a really good way because it set the world while you're in the world. So it doesn't, like, some fantasy books just take like a long time to get into it because it has to set the scene before they start, whereas this one, you get into it while the book is already going, like while the plot is working, you get into it. So I rated it 3.75 stars because it wasn't like anything extraordinary to me, but it was still really good, and I enjoyed the magic system and I enjoyed just kind of getting into the world. The second book, I will say, was my least favourite out of all of them. I did find this one a little bit boring, I won't lie. I think I rate this probably about like a 3 stars. Maybe even a 2.75. Don't come at me. I just found this one a little bit boring, and it kind of had to motivate myself a little bit more to get through it. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't a bad book by any means, and as you can see, I've still got loads of tabs and I still enjoyed reading it, but it just wasn't so much as like, oh my god, I want to keep going, you know? And then the final book, Finale, this one's my favourite one out of all of them. I rated it of 4 stars. We've got 3.75, 2.75 and 4 stars. I love this one. This one, 100% my favourite. I wanted to keep going through it. I kept on picking it up. I think one of the main reasons why I do love it so much is because it is both Scarlet and Hella's point of view. So you get both the sisters' stories in one go. And I will say, I think most people have a favourite sister. And I do have to say, I don't know actually, because I was going to say Scarlet, but I also do really love Hella, but I just loved reading Scarlet's story more. The romance in this one is like between Scarlet and Julian is so adorable. I absolutely loved it. There's so many bits I've underlined in this with Scarlet and Julian, and obviously like the conclusion at the end comes together, and it's just a lot goes on in this book, but in like a good way. It's not packed it's not packed badly, it's packed in a good way that means you want to keep on picking it up. And there's some good quotes in this book too. Love declarations. Yeah, this is definitely my favourite one out of all of them. I think because of these 2 books, that's why it's a 4 stars overall. If you kind of took out that one, 4 stars. So even though I didn't really enjoy the middle one as much, the series as a whole would be a 4 stars. So if you want like a unique magic system, just a little bit of fun, I would say the romance isn't the main part. It is fantasy with a subplot of romance rather than romance with a subplot of fantasy. But I would definitely say if you are wanting to read the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, to read this one first. It's definitely beneficial. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read these books, what you thought of them, if you're going to read the books, whatever. Just your thoughts on them in general, to be honest. And I am now about to go on TikTok and watch a bunch of TikToks about these books. But yeah, that is my review on the Caraval series. Thank you for watching. Bye!